Everyone victimizes everyone. Plants victimize other plants. They kill each other. They constrict each other. Vines will constrict other plants and wrap themselves around and choke the life out of them so they can't get to the top of the rainforest. Does that make it wrong? Are they selfish? Are they victimizing plants selfishly? They're selfish too. They put poison into their seeds, into their leaves so that other creatures can't eat them, and so that their species survives. They care about themselves. They're selfish too. The acai trees in Africa, Orla told me all about it. When he went to Africa, they put tannins on their leaves to kill giraffes off so that they can survive. Carnivorous plants, everything. Lions will victimize sheep so that they can feed its family. Does that mean they're bad? Does it mean they're victimizing? Does that mean that they're selfish? Other primates will eat other primates. Bonobos will eat other bonobos. Does that mean they're selfish? Does that mean that they're victimizing? No basis in anatomy to say that humans should be 100% vegan. We are designed omnivores because science says so. Does that mean we're selfish? Does that mean I'm selfish? Does that mean I'm trying to victimize people? Or maybe that's how the world is. There will always be winners and losers. And then you guys, you say stuff like, oh, well, we're not lions. We're not plants. We aren't chimpanzees or primates, so don't compare them to us. We're human beings. And we're the ones destroying the earth. And the answer to solve everything is veganism. And it's something I've always believed. It's something I've always believed and promoted. And now I look at it, I don't see it as. There will always be destruction. This earth is doomed whether we're here or not. It's a misconception that this planet is having problems just because we're here. On the smallest scale to the largest scale, just look at oysters. They are wiping out so many different species. They're making them extinct because they're sucking up all the oxygen. They're outcompeting other animals for space. Literally hundreds of them have been killing off different species in Europe. And then you have viruses that mercilessly kill off beings, plants, animals. Then you have bacteria. Even Mother Earth doesn't care about her soil. She has volcanoes, she has earthquakes, she has tsunamis. The Earth will destroy life to make room for new life. That is biology. Being alive is a selfish thing. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. Vegans think we live in some kind of this magical plane. No, the reality is to have life, you must take life. Sure, you can do your best to, do the least amount of harm possible, but how extreme do you take it? Huh? How extreme do you take it? When does biology and anatomy and requirements for your organism all of a sudden, start weighing in or outweighing the ideology or the philosophy, the belief of veganism? I don't know what to say. Going vegan is not going to solve the Earth's problems. It won't fix it. If you don't know, I made a video a few days ago just talking about my doubts and why I don't want to be a vegan anymore. And it's not the first time I've ever brought this up. I've brought this up in the past. And I feel like some of you guys don't realize that I have been doing this for years and years and years. You just don't know. You haven't found the right vegan diet yet. You haven't done veganism right. You were never vegan. Of course I was vegan. Of course. What do you think I did for the last half a decade? What do you think? I haven't had meat for 10 years. What do you think I've been doing? A lot of you guys don't know, but I used to make animal rights videos extensively. Every week. I put hours and hours and hours into doing it just because it felt like the right thing to do. So don't tell me, oh, you were never vegan. Because I'm questioning. This is why people see veganism as a crazy religion. If you can't question, if you can't say, wait a minute, does this make sense? If you can't explore and wonder, then this is not what I want to be a part of, ever, again. And remember, I thought, I was raw vegan. I was fruitarian for so many years. And then I did whole foods plant-based for about 2 years. And then I tried starch solution for about a year. And then I was raw till 4 for a bunch of months. I basically lived off rice at one point. I've tried from high sugar to low sugar, adding in more fats, taking out more fats, gluten-free, adding more beans and lentils, eating enough, not eating too much. Usually I try to eat enough. And now I'm just giving up. What is there for me to do? The reason I changed year after year is because eventually I didn't feel right doing what I was doing. when I was a raw foodist, I felt like I was a zombie. I felt like I was deteriorating. My personality, my true sense of personality was gone. Okay? And I've talked about this a lot. I had memory problems. I felt like a space cadet. Remember I said vegans can be crazy? What other group of people leaves comments, oh, well, I don't see your canines. You don't have claws. You don't have a lion's neck. Like treating me like I'm stupid. And these are coming from people who've been vegan less years than me. You don't think I've tried. You don't, maybe you guys don't remember the interviews. I Skype called Dr. McDougall, Dr. Furman, talked to Michael Greger. I remember there was this one girl, very, very, very popular. She was like one of the most watched YouTube channels. Now, you don't know who I'm talking about. It's a mysterious person. But she was vegan. This was like 5-6 years ago. And she made YouTube videos about it. And she, followed a whole foods diet. She was balanced. She did this and that. She ate enough fat, but not too much fat. Oh, she had enough protein, but not too much protein. And she exercised, and she took B12 injections, and all this stuff. A lot of you guys are gonna know who I'm talking about. And 4 or 5 years down the road, she got a blood test because she was just not feeling right. I don't know if I watched all her videos. I don't know if she had not been feeling right and just didn't admit it like I used to do. Oh, I used to be like, oh, these bananas are so good. And then turn off the camera and be like, oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm sick of eating just bananas. The same thing goes with like beans. Oh, vegetables. It's like, okay, I feel like I'm missing something. But I wasn't honest. Well, she made a video and she said, guess what? I was very deficient in iron. My cholesterol was too low. Like, don't you understand? Too much cholesterol is a bad thing, but also having too little is a bad thing. Your heart is at risk if you have too little cholesterol. Her B12 was terrible. Her iron was terrible. And she basically decided to start incorporating fish and eggs back into her diet, and all the deficiencies went away, and she felt better. And she got attacked by vegans. You didn't do vegan right. Do your research. And I sit here now and say, what does it mean to do your research? I can pull open the computer and I can be like, did humans evolve to eat meat? And pull up 20 studies from Harvard and Yale that says, yes, we did. And then I can go to a vegan blog spot or a vegan doctor and they say, no, we didn't. We evolved by eating vegetables. Okay? So what does it mean to do your research? I'm sorry for getting upset, but there are a few people out there that do think with an open mind. But a lot of people don't. I want to read you. I'm not going to say their names, don't worry, I won't embarrass you, but I've gotten literally like 50 messages on Facebook in the last day. Hey Nick, I've been watching you for a very long time. I've seen you go through all your stages from raw to cooked to junk. I've been there myself. I was raw and then very strict high carb, low fat. That's a way to do vegan diets that a lot of people think is the best way. Even a doctor promotes not eating too much fat or no oil at all and yada yada. My life 100% revolved around food. I lost my friendships, my family, and basically my life. I put everything into Chronometer. I made sure that my fat intake was very low. And let me tell you, I got very sick. I was in the hospital all the time. I got bruises all over my body, up to 40 bruises at a time. I got depressed, very thin, and constipated. Yet I kept shoving in the fruits and vegetables and potatoes and still not even feeling satisfied. I used to do that all the time. Just eat a bowl of 8 potatoes and tell myself this is a complete meal. After 2 years of doing this, I broke down and nearly ended my life. Now I'm seeing a psychiatrist for 6 months, and about a month ago there was a click that went off in my head. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't have rules over what I can and can't eat. So after being vegan for 4 years, very strictly, I ate some animal products again. I've never felt better. Honestly, I'm exercising every day. I look healthier. I have color in my face now. So please don't listen. Okay. Let's see, we have another one. Hi, I just watched your video about not wanting to be vegan, and I don't think you're wrong. I want to share something with you. There's this one lady named Beep, and she was vegan for 10 years, and she was diagnosed with several autoimmune diseases after being vegan. And it wasn't until she started eating animal products that she did heal herself. Here's her website. She also has this website, and she has lots of scientific research to back it up. So this is what I'm getting at. Vegans say, well, you just didn't do it right. We didn't do it long enough. Oh, well, you just have to detox more. Oh, well, think about the animals. If you are sick, if your health deteriorates, if you're coming back with terrible blood results, if there are holes on this philosophy, this ideology, then I'm sorry. The animals don't come first. This is what I believe. I think animals should be treated with care. But to be sick, to be going to the hospital, to be developing diseases, there's this one raw Buddhist who he has gone blind. Blind. Okay? It doesn't matter if he's drinking all the orange juice in the world. If he's not absorbing the vitamin A. Vitamin A in orange juice is a precursor to true vitamin A. Does this make sense biologically? Does this make sense as a species? To degrade ourselves? Now, I'm talking about my experience and the message. I was vegan for 8 years, and after 8 years, I was very deficient in iron. Let's talk about iron. There is no heme iron in plants, hemoglobin. It's only found in meat. And a lot of vegans will be like, oh, well, that's okay, you don't need that iron. The iron in plant's good enough. But then all these people are coming back deficient. There's something called hemoglysis, that each time you take steps, especially if you're an athlete, iron isn't being absorbed, it's not going into the cells properly. And this is an issue, and plants don't provide this. You can find biased studies from people that want to promote this message, of people saying, well, no, your body will take what it needs from the lentils, the iron in the lentils. If you're a raw foodist, I pray for you, because you're not getting much at all. Even if you're eating leaves all day, I mean, good luck digesting plant cellulose. How to turn the camera back on, you guys know that the G7X dies. So I was in the middle of reading, I don't even know what I left off on. I got through like 5 messages out of many of people just letting me know that I'm not the only one. This is one of the reasons why I made that first video saying I don't want to be a vegan anymore, I'm having trouble. This lady says, I won't say your name, don't worry. I was vegan for over 10 years and I'm so happy you made this video. I was embarrassed to admit that what I was doing was wrong. I felt confused about my life. I didn't want to get chastised by vegans. I felt embarrassed to tell my friends because they always saw me as a vegan. I completely understand where you're coming from. My blood tests, which I did yearly, were always bad, yet I kept pursuing. So it goes on and on. Iron, zinc, B12, calcium. She had a calcium deficiency. And you know, there's so many vegan studies, that's what I'm saying. Doctors will be like, oh, well, if you eat too much animal products, your calcium will go away. But do they mean to eat no animal products? There's a lot of pseudoscience among vegans. That's also very, very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. And you know, I used to promote this stuff. I used to talk about this stuff. That's why I've deleted all my videos, my old videos. Oh, we are frugivores. We are the same as turtles and parrots. Pseudoscience. We're herbivores. We're the same as zebras and giraffes. That is pseudoscience. Oh, well, you just have to drink a lot of green juice to detox out the toxins because your body has been hoarding meat in your colon for your whole life. Pseudoscience. That's what I'm saying. Vegans will say anything so that you join their group. That's why I'm saying veganism is viewed as a religion among so many people. Saying things without concrete evidence, using cherry-picked studies. It's listen, I know the meat industry probably does the same thing so people buy more of their products. But there has to be a happy medium. And there is a reason why why a lot of people have problems down the road. Let's talk about vitamin K2. That is also not found in any plant foods. Now, it's suggested that you might be able to get a little bit from natto, which is like a fermented vegetable. But other than that, trust me, doing vegan for many, many years, I've not met a single person that shows himself eating natto on camera. Natto, okay? Never. Can you name some for me? I just don't know. And so it was never taught to me because I don't want to say brainwashed, but I was led to believe by a lot of people on the internet and even vegan doctors that our bodies just create everything we need. You know, there's a lot of people in the high carb, low fat movement. They're like, if you just eat enough carbohydrates, your body will turn the carbs into protein. You'll get enough fat if you just eat enough carbs. If you just eat rice and fruit, you'll get enough fats to be healthy. For hormones, for cardiovascular, you need fat for healthy arteries, you understand? For a healthy heart, for a brain. Just keep eating the carbs and your body will just turn what it needs into it. Oh, well, if you just keep eating enough flax seeds, your body will turn that ALA magically into DHA and EPA, even though this is what I'm saying. There's so many studies that say, no, that's not really accurate. Or no, it's very insignificant. And if you're eating all these, fats from plants, which happen to have a lot of omega-6s, it blocks the process. And people say, oh, well, then just eat chia seeds. But then a lot of times, there's so many studies that say, you don't digest chia seeds. You don't. They're too small. So it's the same type of pseudoscience. If you eat enough carbs, it'll turn it into fats and proteins. If you eat enough ALA, well, if you're following a high-carb diet, you're not supposed to eat that much flax seeds, and I've never seen the promoters eating it, so then I guess you're not going to get ALA or DHA or EPA. Well, now they're saying, well, just eat enough vegetables, because K1 is found in plants, and it will just convert it into K2. You don't have to worry. What I'm about to read to you is studies that I've found out of Harvard, okay? So people say, do your research? Well, I did my research, and this is what I found. Cholesterol is bad as excess, but having too low is also just as dangerous. People with low levels of lipids are 53% more likely to suffer from memory loss, dementia, and mental disorders. People with low cholesterol are prone to mental issues and behavioral problems. Some people don't make their own cholesterol, or more realistically, don't produce enough, and this puts them at risk for heart attack. There was a huge train of people coming out. This only happened within a few months, and then they were just kind of like ignored, and hopefully what they were saying would disappear. But a lot of you guys that knew me back then are probably going to know who I'm talking about. A huge train of people, group of people that all got blood works, and they had high triglycerides as a raw foodist. High triglycerides comes from eating too much animal products, lots of fatty stuff, and beef, and liver, and like lots of animal products, right? Actually, I can think of someone just recently. She made a video on YouTube. I'm not going to say her name. It's a mystery to everyone. And she basically said, well, she showed her blood tests, and she was following another type of vegan diet, eating rice and sugar and jam and fruit and sugar, because that's what she was told. That's how she'll lose weight and get healthy. And she came back with her blood tests, and her triglycerides were high. And other vegans were telling her, oh, that's just because you're anxious. That's because you're too hyper. If you calm yourself down, your triglycerides will go down too. That was their response. So it just shows you how ignorant vegans can be. And they will say anything to convince you that what they're doing is best. We don't get enough cholesterol from plants. Possibly. Now, some people do. But if you don't, then what are you supposed to do? It just really upsets me that vegans tend to make up their own biology. You know, this is an ever-occurring situation. Vegans coming and go. There was a study that came out last year, and it illustrated veganism, the idea, whatever, the diet, the philosophy, the lifestyle, as a bubble. And you have all this attention on the right side of the bubble of people coming in, new vegan celebrities and super doctors and superstars and social media personalities, and veganism saved my life. Oh, look at me, I'm vegan. But on the other side of the bubble, you see lots of people leaving, simultaneously leaving, stopping it. And that's why the bubble has been kind of the same. And it's gotten more attention and search engines and this and that, but it doesn't mean that there's all these more vegans. It means that there's more new vegans. And it's weekly, monthly, it's an ever-current situation. I remember, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, but I will say, without saying their names, there were their three brothers, and they were very popular, and they had all these fans, and they were really into building muscle and being athletes and this and that, and they were all about the vegan lifestyle, very enthusiastic in this and that. Well, eventually, they didn't feel right. Eventually, I know they got blood tests and showed they were deficient. And so they went back to animal products, but in a different way. They hunted their own food. They got wild-caught fish. And you know what? Their blood tests got better. And I'm telling you, they look so good. I mean, obviously genetics plays a role too, but they're fit, they're healthy, their blood tests are great, they're happy. And let me tell you, they seem more mentally healthy than many vegans. They seem to be at peace and really calm and collective and just happy. And you know what? They got called terrible people. And everyone screwed them under the rug. They're like, next, here comes welcome to the bubble, vegan, yay. I can think of another example. I was literally just out of the blue, this is perfect timing. Just a week ago, maybe even less, 5 days ago, I was on the phone with a friend, and she told me about this guy that was very rah, animal rights, and he participated in protests, and I think he did a few undercover, slaughterhouse helped produce those videos or spread the social media, something like that, and very, very enthusiastic about it, and he was vegan for 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years, not a long time, but still, 3 years is a long time, I'm not friends with him, but you guys know I deleted my old Facebook, I've lost contact with all my friends and stuff, and he's one of the people that I just stopped listening to, and she's like, oh, did you hear about, Beep? I know the name, you don't. And I'm just like, what about him? Oh, yeah, he's not vegan anymore. I'm like, what? I can't believe it. She's like, yeah, he got like, because you know that when you build your friendships or your network or your community or your interrelationship, whatever you want to call it, when it's built around something that is very variable and that might not last forever, when you stop, you know they're coming. And so she was just like, yeah, he had like one brutal week where it was just like, the haters every single day. And she's like, now people have backed off and they're just find someone else to follow that's also vegan and stuff. 20 minutes ago, today is Monday, I literally got a message on Facebook from a friend. She's really, really nice, and I kind of hung out with her this summer and stuff. And she sent me a message saying, hey, I saw your first video about questioning veganism, and I want to let you know that, you know, you're in doubt and that's okay, and I'm here for you if you want to talk, because she's vegan. But her partner stopped being vegan. He had been vegan for like 8 years, like a long time. 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, like a long time. Yeah, basically said that they, you know, it was very scary because their circle of friends, they weren't sure how they would treat him and this and that. So, you know, it's a real issue. It happens every single day. People want to stop. People want to change. People need to make tweaks. People are getting deficiencies. People are just, whether they're getting fat, whether they're getting emaciated, I mean, it's just a reality and no one talks about it. No one wants to talk about it. And it's like, we need a support group for this. What we don't need is for these zealous, religious acting, like extremist vegans to come on over and either leave comments like keyboard warriors or make videos about us, spreading pseudoscience even more, as if that's gonna make us keep doing it. Okay, I got an email from someone named, don't want to say her name, and she's basically saying, look, I followed your path as well. She's been vegan for 10 years, and she lost 20 pounds, but she never felt right. Even though she was eating about 2,000 to 3,000 calories every single day and exercising, she became obsessed with food and never felt satisfied. She would fantasize about food, and she always felt like she was out of breath, that her heart was racing and the wind was gusting out of her. It even brought about a few panic attacks in her life. She was also eating about 1 pound of steamed vegetables for dinner and 1 pound of salad or greens for lunch. She said the strangest thing was that even though she had perfect lab results, she still felt sick. Her anxiety and constant hunger would never go away, despite what she was eating. Fortunately, lab tests don't actually paint an accurate picture of your health and deficiencies, but I was stubborn and stuck with the lifestyle for more years. She mentions that she started taking more EPA and DHA supplements, but what really helped her was organic pasture-raised eggs. She started eating 3 eggs almost every single day. She felt very guilty about doing it, but I instantly felt better. As soon as I ate my first egg, I felt mentally calm. Eating my first egg literally felt like I was eating for the first time in my life. I'm not even exaggerating. I felt like I had broken a 40-day water fast for the first time. It felt so amazing. I've been vegan for so many years. I can't even put into words how amazing the single egg was. Ever since, eggs have been my staple animal protein. I do not suffer high cholesterol from eating them, and I still get my lab tests done. I just don't like to talk to people about this. In conclusion, eating a healthy plant-based diet with eggs and dairy and supplementing EPA and DHA help to restore the mental clarity and emotional sanity. Here's another email. This comes from, I'm also going to bleep out her name. She sent this and she said, hi Nick, your video about not wanting to be vegan anymore couldn't come at a better time. I'm currently in the hospital for the 2nd time in 4 months, and I spent a collective 28 days here because of being diagnosed with severe ulcerative colitis. I want to briefly tell you my story because I myself have been vegan for 6 years, and out of absolute necessity, I had to stop it. She says my albumin levels, which by the way, you can only get in animal products, you can't find in plants, which makes up 60% of the protein in your blood, were so low that I had severe edema, or fluid retention, in my feet, legs, hips, and abdomen that I couldn't walk, bend my knees, or stand up straight. There was no way to bring my albumin levels up other than to do strong drug treatment and, of course, eat meat. Please don't ever feel guilty about questioning your food choices, ethical or not, because you have to do what's right for your body, and that is a valid concern. Please remember there are ways to get meat and eggs from small farms who actually raise the animals outdoors on pastures, letting them graze and enjoy life. Yes, slaughter is terrible, but when you get to a point where you have to say, okay, it's either me or the animal, trust me, your survival instinct will say, it's me, I must survive. I can't believe that I'm writing this because I thought I would be vegan for life. And although I plan on making at least 80% of my diet vegan, I honestly don't think I'll ever go back, because after experiencing this, I'm not willing to play Russian roulette with my health. Here's something that I see all the time. This was a comment under my last video. I'm so dry. Okay, well then why do people feel bad if an animal's being killed? Obviously that means we're not supposed to eat meat because you would enjoy doing it. And this is probably coming from a rich white person in California that has all their meals they get from Whole Foods, and they eat salads every day and talk about detox. Now, I mean, that's stereotypical. Maybe this comes from someone in Canada that really cares about veganism, or someone from Pennsylvania like me that really, really believes in veganism. I mean, it could be anyone. But I bring up the Western thing and the California thing is because most people in the United States, in the Western world, are detached from how meat is made. And so when they see it, it really shocks them. And that's why it's this extreme reaction. Remember, I talk about everything in life as a balance. If you're removed from the process of making meat and animals, and then you see something by PETA, which is the opposite extreme, it's not coming from a farm, it's probably a factory farm, polar opposites. You do something to balance it out. You just say, I'm not going to eat meat at all. Obviously, this made me sad. But let's talk about the rest of the world. Let's talk about most of the world. I mean, the United States is 300 million people. The rest of the world is 8 billion, 7 billion. I live in a third world country, right? I walk down to the market and I see people chopping legs off whole cows. I remember I went to Guatemala with Orlin, and it really, really bothered me that they were like beheading animals after they already like drained their blood. And everyone's watching, like, I'll take this piece, oh, I'll take this piece. And like no one seemed to be upset, but me, who's never seen that, was really upset. Orlin has gone to Ethiopia twice. He has worked with natives, he has worked to talk about crop production, and all the Ethiopians eat raw meat. Now, he wonders too, if they're eating raw meat, and it's suggested that Ethiopia is the birthplace of humanity, that's where we all migrated from, probably suggested that they're very traditional, that what they're doing is what we've always been doing. They're carrying down the same traditions. You know, people in China are very traditional. People in India are very traditional. You go to Korea and you see people butchering it. You go to China, they're eating dogs. These people aren't crying, they don't feel bad because it's a part of life. But I think a lot of people that are removed from it completely, they're shocked. And then they draw a conclusion, well, it makes me sad, so it must make everyone sad. I'll tell you, the people here are not sad when they have to eat a cow to feed their family or get the nutrients they need. I can tell you the people in Ethiopia are not sad. I can tell you that the people in Venezuela or Brazil or India, parts of India, not all of India. So that, I don't see the logic there. I'm telling you, I'm coming from a vegan for many years. I used to see the logic in that. But now it makes no sense because it's very a tunneled vision. And I just had to change the battery. You know, I'm feeling better now because I typed this up in my fury and like crying and everything, but I'm reading it and it's like, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, okay? I'm confused and I'm trying to show the other side that is also not really talked about among vegans, okay? Like listen, I respect vegans so much. That was the opening thing of my last video. But I don't see people questioning this. And when you do question it, you're called, well, you weren't really vegan. Oh, well, you didn't do it right. They don't want to hear it. And I think that's problematic, especially if you want to promote this as being sustainable. Yet all these people are dropping off the lifestyle like flies. Okay, I'm on my computer. He specifically asked me not to show this message, but he is Native American. And he told me that there's this huge misconception that Native Americans were very sad when they had a cure. And they felt so sad, but they did it because it's all they had. And he said that's absolutely not true. That's just a lie. You know, a lot of people like to twist the facts to promote their cause, whether it's a Republican twisting the facts or it's a Democrat twisting the facts, whether it's a Christian or a Muslim. At the end of the day, if you want to believe in your ideology, sometimes you don't want to hear anything else. I think if you aren't able to see other people's opinions as possibilities, then it shows how trapped you are in your own ways. I totally believe that. And that's why most of the world can't get along with each other. So anyways, he was just saying it was a misconception and that they weren't sad. They would only bless it because they were thankful, because it was like something their religion told them to do. You know, this is to have a life, you must take a life. What I'm about to say is something I kind of made up. It's like my own, I don't know, maybe other people have made this analogy too, but it's something I just, in one of my meltdowns, it's something I like popped in my head. I'm like, okay, well maybe this makes sense. You guys know that I joined a gym like a few years ago, and I went there every single day. I had a personal trainer. She was coaching me on my diet once I eventually stopped being raw. She was just, she's a wonderful person, really great help and everything. And she was just saying, if you are consistent, muscle will grow. Well, I went to that gym probably every day, or at least 6 days a week. and followed her advice. I ended up doing protein shakes to gain extra protein to really help the muscle growth. And I look probably exactly the same as a year ago, or when I first started. If anything, I maybe put on a little fat. I was able to lift more, but the amount that I was able to increase should have taken the average person who eats chicken or whatever, maybe a month or two. It took me a year. And I didn't feel good and I didn't look any different. Now, I only bring this up because I'm thinking of muscles, okay. Maybe I was doing something wrong. Maybe I needed to eat, well, I don't know. But anyways, I thought about muscle building. Okay, well, if it makes us sad that an animal has to die, what about muscle building? If we talk about balance, in order to build muscle, you have to destroy your cells. You have to literally rip your tissues. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to accelerate your heartbeat. You have to be stressed. You have to sweat. And you have to be in pain. And then you're in pain throughout the day. But without that pain, there's no gain. And this also makes me think of back when I was raw. One of the reasons why raw foodists preach that you're not supposed to eat cooked foods is because it doesn't digest as well as fruits, because fruits kind of fly through your system. It's simple sugars. It flies through your stomach literally in 30 minutes, and then you're hungry again. Well, that's a good thing because it's less work for your body, aka it means you're more pure. And I came to the same realization. Well, just because something's harder to digest, just because damage has to be done, whether you cook a food, you have to eat toxins, whatever, doesn't mean that benefits don't come out of it. To think that we live in a world where we're all gonna, where it's just pure and there's never consequences, or to be healthy, you don't have to contribute to something bad in order to get positive effects from it, doesn't make sense. I mean, it might be a stretch, correct me if I'm wrong, but I very well could be, but I'm thinking like, these are just little examples. I think of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was an awful, awful thing. People had to suffer. People were displaced around the world. People were angry. But what came of it? New laws, change, beautiful, beautiful art, beautiful, beautiful music. Sometimes light comes out of darkness. And I keep going back to Chinese philosophy. It's like the Chinese are a lot older in terms of their culture, a lot older than American culture, a lot older than European culture. And I feel like they figured it out. We can't escape. I talked about this in my mukbang yesterday. You guys saw the tides. The ocean is like a tides. You'll win, you'll lose. There'll be victories, there'll be defeats. This world is not set up for all of us to be winners. And life's unfair. And while it might be traumatic and sad for people to watch an animal die in a slaughterhouse video by PETA, doesn't mean that we're not supposed to eat it at all. So it's like this extreme way of thinking. Instead of saying, okay, people eat way too much of it, perhaps. The way the animals treat it is bad, perhaps. All these other different things. Well, obviously, we evolved to be this way. We are classified as omnivores according to biology. Any anthropologist, you ask anyone who is a specialist in the field. Don't go to a vegan blog spot. Don't watch a vegan YouTuber who's been vegan for 2 years and thinks they know everything, which I used to be. Go to the experts. That's what I'm saying. I mean, people think our brains evolved on vegetables. Vegans think our brains evolved on vegetables. Heck, I used to be in a group of people that thought our brains evolved on fruits. But if you look at every other species of animal, change only happens when a new source of food is given to them. Change only happens if they're able to eat more calories. You get less calories eating fruits and vegetables. You get less calories eating lettuce and potatoes over meat or dairy. People say for me to do my research, but I type in how did our brains evolve in Harvard, and the British yada 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 at BBC says, hey, we came from animals. But it wasn't until recently, I think just a year ago, I think it's called the Sydney University, they suggest that not only was it meat, but it was also more so potatoes, that eating more glucose helped to fuel our brains and keep us moving and help us become more advanced. But that's the first one we're talking within a year. So for vegans to act like what they're doing has always been right, that all of a sudden now in 2016, evolution's just going to support veganism now, even though it never has before. You have to understand, it's still a theory. It's a theory that we evolved. I mean, I think we came here by aliens. I think we were planted here by aliens. Does that mean it's true? No. A lot of people think we came from God. Does that mean it's necessarily true? No. what's his name? Albert Einstein. No, Stephen Hawking. No, Albert Einstein tried so hard to prove the existence of God. He wasn't vegan, by the way. A lot of vegans like to say he was. A lot of people like to say Leonardo da Vinci was vegan. No, he wasn't. A lot, people lie to try to make it seem better. Anyways, he tried so hard to prove the existence of God, and he couldn't do that. Whether you think we're evolved from monkeys or gorillas, it's a theory. And that's why, this is one of the reasons I'm making this video. It's not black and white. And just because you're eating a vegan lifestyle and it's working for you right now, doesn't mean, number one, it will always work. And doesn't mean it'll work for all people. If you saw my first video, I talked a little bit about gene expression. Now, I'm not an expert in that, but obviously genes play a role. I talked about the diversity in mankind and how we've evolved to be different and tolerate different things, how our DNA is different. Someone left this comment, and I just want to read it to you to offer a different perspective and be open to it. Vegans don't seem to understand evolution at all. Humans may have been apes, but we evolved to be much different than our closest relatives, chimpanzees or bonobos. While we shared a common ancestor with chimpanzees 6 million years ago, it has been 6 million years of difference. The fact remains that even bonobos still eat each other. They eat each other. They eat bugs, they eat insects, they eat bush pigs, they eat other monkeys. In addition, and they are our closest ones. Now here's where they say it gets really interesting. Just because two species in the same family are related doesn't mean they're the same. The giant pandas in the family Ursidae and the polar bears are in the same family. They are their closest relatives. But if you look at their diets, the pandas consists of leaves, stems, and shoots and other plants, while the polar bears consist of seals, walruses, fish, baby whales. Now, just because they're in the same family and they're their most related relative doesn't mean they should eat the same diet. If you put the polar bear on a bamboo shoots, leaves, and bugs diet, it will die. It will have psychological problems. It will have mental problems. It will have problems reproducing, perhaps. It will have defective children. And you don't know how extreme or little it can be, but obviously you can't turn back evolution. Orland was kind of explained, Orland, I don't want to brag about Orland, but he was valedictorian. He's very, very smart. He worked under many doctors. He's a vet technician. He studied biology. And he said that when he found veganism, he was untraining everything he learned in his schooling. But now he's looking back and saying well, what I was learning in school was actually based on the most amount of evidence with various studies to support it. And their comment concluded with, humans evolved to be hunters and gatherers. There has never, ever been a vegan society, tribe, or civilization in the history of mankind. So it makes me think, well, if we've never done it before, we've obviously evolved away. If you believe in evolution or you believe in the aliens like I do, it doesn't matter. We're obviously not chimpanzees anymore. We're not bonobos anymore. We aren't primates anymore. Why should we turn around and eat what they eat when we aren't them? When there's millions of years in between us. I remember I talked to Dr. McDougall. He is a vegan doctor, whatever. And he helped convince me to stop eating raw food. And he said the exact same thing. There are millions of years between then and now. If we supposedly get the greatest amount of intelligence and intellectual advances by eating a chimpanzee diet, then the chimpanzees would be just as intellectual as us. Primates still in the rainforests would be at the intellectual level as humans, according to the vegans, because we should eat like them, because they're in our same family. So that makes absolutely no sense to me. I'll say, well, many vegans say just to eat a lot of fruit because that's the easiest thing to digest. And he's like, that is just total lies, total pseudoscience. And now I look at the same doctor, this is why I'm so confused and flustered. I look at the same doctor who helped convince me that raw veganism is not natural for the human being in 2016, And now I look at him and say, well, I followed your diet plan to a T for a very long time, and I still felt like I was going crazy. I still felt like I was too fat deficient. And he says you get all the omega-3s you need from eating potatoes. But he's probably one of the only doctors that would ever recommend you not to eat fat. And it just seems ridiculous. And now I'm talking about the wholes. Vitamin K2, vitamin D, vitamin B12, absorbing vitamin B12. Now you say you take a supplement, but obviously supplements are not food. If we evolved to get vitamin B12 from fish once a week, then we can't change it. That's why you would never put a parrot on the same diet as a cockatoo. Cockatoos have been bred, and evolution has dictated that they need seeds. If you give a parrot too many seeds, they get fatty liver disease. They need more fruits. They also need more insects than cockatoos. We're talking vitamin D, vitamin K2, vitamin B12, omega-3s. We're talking about DHA and EPA. Now we're talking about iron, heme iron that you can't get from plants. We're talking about so many holes. The human body has a terrible, terrible time digesting plant cellulose. And that's because we can't. I'm going through my notes here and I'm just seeing more stuff about, oh no, we're really herbivorous. Oh no, we're frugivorous, yada yada. I don't want pseudoscience anymore. You know, I'm done with believing that. You know, it's like, it's a fact that humans can't digest plant cellulose, and yet you're saying we're a herbivore. Why do you think vegans have to eat a lot more than usual as well? Not only for the calories, because they aren't absorbing half the nutrients they need. The only way we can get nutrients from plants is if we break the cells ourselves, such as juicing. But we're talking about what's natural here, right? Did everyone run around with juicers back in the day? No, they didn't. And I'm not saying juicing can't be a beneficial thing, but it still goes against what's working mechanically. Humans are able to get nutrients from both plants and animals. You know what? Dr. Greger, nutritionfacts.org, so many vegans are referring me to him. And you know what? When I talked to him, he said, look, raw, because at that time I was trying to stop being raw and he was convincing me not to. And he's made videos saying, look, raw vegans have the worst nutritional profiles. There are very few studies on raw vegans. There's probably 20 of them, and all 20 of them, every single one says that raw vegans have more mineral and vitamin deficiencies. And you think, how's that possible if they're eating larger volumes of tomatoes and kale and salads and cucumbers? He says, we don't digest plant cellulose. Cooking it is what makes it bioavailable, and that's why cooking is what helped to make us human. But does that mean we should only eat plants because we could cook them? Does cooking plant food fill up the possible holes on a plant-based diet? The 7 things I already brought up to you guys? No, it doesn't. Meat rots in your colon. Okay, again, with the pseudoscience that I used to believe. I think I've even said that before. I think I told my parents, if you eat meat, it rots and putrefies in your colon. I think I learned that from watching YouTube videos. And I pulled up some information, and this comes from Cornell. And they had this interesting article where they debunked exactly what I'm saying. Meat does not rot in your colon. It's broken down by stomach acid and your digestive tract. In the small intestine, it's converted into amino acids and fats. After this, it's absorbed into the bloodstream. It doesn't rot anywhere. I think Unnatural Vegan talked about this too. But you have to remember, if you want to compare ourselves to what's natural, what's nature, and look at all the animals, we are the only animal. If you believe we're an animal, I think we're from aliens, like I said. We are the only animal that drives cars, that uses computers, that has to sustain brain power to maintain the society that we currently live in. We are the only animal that builds buildings, that flies into outer space, that digs deep into the ground, that makes submarines and airplanes. Okay? Dr. McDougall himself told me to read Catching Fire, I believe it was called, which showed us how we are human. We use our tools, and tools is what defines us and differentiates us from the primates, for example. The whole thing, we should eat like primates just because we relate to them doesn't make much sense. Here we go. Whether Nick is trolling or actually serious, he's mocking veganism. This is what I don't like. Remember that girl YouTuber I told you about, that when she came out and all the vegans attacked her because she questioned? Remember that other vegan YouTuber that came out and showed his blood tests and he was deficient? A lot of these holes that I'm bringing up, and all the vegans said, well, you just didn't do it right. Remember all these dozens of emails that I got just yesterday from people around the world saying, you know, this happened to me. Oh, I was vegan for 10 years. Oh, I collapsed. Oh, I went to the hospital. Oh, I can't absorb iron from plants. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, this is what I'm saying. I'm either trolling or making a mockery of veganism. That is what makes veganism viewed as a religion, and a religion that a lot of people don't like because they don't question. You know, that's why I admire people like what's her name, Unnatural Vegan, because she at least questions and she tries to do some kind of research and doesn't spew pseudoscience. Now, you understand? Of course I care about what I'm doing. That's why I'm making these videos, because I want to figure out what the best option is for me. I want people to know that they're not alone. All these people reaching out, hundreds and hundreds of snaps on Snapchat. I must be trolling. A mockery. No, it's because I care. I remember I was involved on a forum, which I'm not going to get into. And if you ever talked about problems, you were deleted or banned. It even happened to Orland. He got banned from a vegan forum because he brought up, why are vegans so low in selenium? Besides Brazil nuts, which you're telling us not to eat much of, we don't get selenium. Can you please help me? It's like a tunneled vision tunneled vision. And you know, people are leaving comments, they're responding to me, and they're saying stuff like, well, we don't have claws or teeth like lions. Stuff rots in our colon. Here, look at this chart, or you're frugivores. Just spreading what makes people dislike vegans to begin with, is that they make up their own rules. They make up their own biology. And I'm not saying that the religions make up their stuff, but it is a belief. And to dislike people because they're eating something that they're designed to get nutrients from doesn't mean they're bad people. And I think that's I think perhaps this is a problem with veganism on the internet. It's too extreme. It's too very, very polarized. And in the process, you know, I wonder about mental health long term. I'm gonna close with this. The first like automatic response that I get from a lot of my viewers, which would have been my response 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, was to just take more supplements. I used to take so many supplements. When I first went vegan, I remember I showed you guys photos. I used to take like 5, it was by Vega. I used to take DHA. I used to take these drops. They were disgusting. It was like, it tasted like seaweed. Drops for DHA and EPA. I used to take B12. I used to take vitamin D. I used to take a calcium and an iron and a multivitamin. So I would take like a whole chain of supplements. And all of them together was like $150, and I redo that every month. And I was in college at the time, and I was like, I can't do this. So that's like the initial thing that vegans will say, just supplement, all right? So you can stay doing this for the animals. And this is what I said. I wrote this about a month ago. The problem is when you take an isolated vitamin, it tends to be less effective. Even nutritionfacts.org says vitamins and supplements are not nearly as effective as food. He always says, try to get what you can from food. And the problem is taking 10 pills a day, you miss the natural stuff that comes packaged in food for absorption. That's why my one friend who told me like she was taking B12 injections and she still had low B12 because she wasn't absorbing it. Of course, supplements can be beneficial, but it's also safe to say that humans are designed to get as much as they need from food, or else we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be on this planet. We wouldn't have evolved to be the way that we are. Okay, if you can't, this is my quote, if you can't see people's opinions as possibilities, then it shows how trapped you are in your own opinion. Trust me, I used to be a militant vegan. I used to do everything that the YouTube gurus told me to do. I found amazing benefits in going vegan many, many years ago. But just because something works at the start doesn't mean that it will necessarily work forever. For example, like when I went raw vegan. There are pros to cons in everything in life, including diet choices. A lot of you guys said, well, for DHA and EPA, just take spirulina. But then the most referred to doctor, Michael Greger, says that spirulina leads to toxicity in the brain. He says right here, quote, green-blue algae such as spirulina often contain toxins that may harm the brain. Do you see why this is confusing? So to be 100% vegan or 100% plant-based your entire life, and a lot of you guys say, well, veganism isn't a diet, but essentially it is. Whether you're eating this banana for the animals or you're eating this banana for your diet, you're still eating the same thing. So obviously it must be addressed together. You have to admit that you are a walking science experiment. The most referred to vegan society by lots of professional vegans, vegan nutritionists, they say, well, look at the Okinawans. They eat mostly plants, and they were so healthy, and they lived to 90 or 100 years old, and they didn't get cardiovascular disease, and conveniently leave out the fact that they ate fish daily or every other day. Okay? And fish cover the heme iron, which you don't get from plants. They cover the B12, that might be better absorbed. They cover the calcium. You get so much more nutrition, omega-wise, from eating fish than you do from eating seeds. Just look at the numbers, because nuts and seeds, besides chia, tend to be so high in omega-6 that you're not going to convert any of that into EPA or DHA. But the fish provide all of it in like this pure source, such little omega-6. Depends what fish, of course. I'm talking about sardines or salmon. Cholesterol, they provide you with cholesterol. If your body doesn't make it or doesn't make enough of your own, then you're at more risk for heart attack and stuff. They provide you with essential amino acids that you don't get, or very hard to get, unless you're eating beans every day, which many vegans aren't. Then you're gonna be missing out. And this is just to name a few. Vitamin D. Okay, a lot of people, unless you aren't in the sun all day and taking a vitamin D supplement and hoping that it works, this is what I'm saying. You are a walking science experiment, because no culture, no civilization, no tribe, no group of people have ever successfully done it. Ever. And I don't think it's a bad thing anymore. I think we should use that and say, well, this is evidence. Obviously, there's truth to both sides. There has to be a balance. And
You never truly know what people do behind closed doors. What you see on the internet, what your neighbor tells you, you believe as far as what they tell you. But being a vegan for so many years, not eating meat for a decade, talking to various raw foodists and high carb vegans and whole plant-based diet eaters and this and that, I've learned that a lot of times people leave out what else they're doing, because it's so much easier to sell a message, a product, an idea, to persuade someone of your ideology, of your beliefs. People will say anything to make others join their cause. And unfortunately, vegans don't want to hear it. I know 6 years ago, I would have never wanted to heard it. When I first went vegan, I was so enthusiastic. This is the answer to life. This is gonna solve all my problems. And then I found out it didn't. But I stuck with it. I just thought, well, let's do some tweaks. And some more tweaks, and some more tweaks, and some more tweaks. And now I'm at a point where I'm just like, wow, I'm this close to giving up. I would have typed the same things people are leaving comments to me right now. That is not in the realm of possibilities. Well, I know my neighbor's a vegan. She's been vegan for 5 years and she's very healthy, so you must be wrong. You know, not taking into consideration anecdotal evidence, the fact that people don't tell you the full story on camera or to your face, and the fact that one size will never ever fit all. And that is what makes us human. When I first went vegan, I thought that it would solve all of my problems. For weight loss and clearer skin, and all the trees would come back and the animals would never have to die, and we'd all just hold hands and all the humans would get along because we're eating the same thing. But you look at the vegans on YouTube and 90% of them are fighting with each other. That's how they're spending their time. They're fighting with each other, talking about which vegan diet's better than the other one. And I'm pointing out that perhaps all of them have some holes, and maybe that's why we all go a little insane. Why so many people are emailing me saying they feel isolated, why they're getting depression, they're going to the hospital. Well, I feel like I'm going crazy right now. I woke up today and I was like, did I really make that video yesterday? Oh my God, did I really make that video? But I did, and I'm glad I did. People are afraid to question veganism in these types of senses. And if they do, they're just saying, well, you must not have compassion. Oh, you just need to supplement a lot of things. And I think that's how we don't grow as human beings, not to question things, not to ban people from forums, not to change your diet back and forth 5 times and still act like you know everything. Like I said, this is how I identify. I've identified myself since college. It's hard to be like, whoa, maybe I was wrong.